Good afternoon, everybody. This is the Office Hours show. Today's a very different show. We are live at the Oregon Technology Business Center, and we've got a whole bunch of announcements and things to get through, so bear with me. This is a presentation on personal branding and Google Plus for Business, again, live from the Oregon Technology Business Center. This is the Office Hours show as well. So I have Alex with me, and we've got a group of people here live at the OTBC. We may have some guests come in from online. It's an open discussion. We're going to be talking about Google Plus, business, authorship, what all this means in 2014. But I have to thank some people first. So this presentation is being brought to you by Speaker Expo and Bravo Event. Bravo Event, the Northwest's most trusted name in event planning. And also by Wirecast. Live streaming like you've never seen it before. I put the "it" in there, Alex. Never going to get that right. And I'd also like to thank Steve Morris with OTBC. Steve's over here, and we've got Simon running the board. He can pull up the shot if he wants to. We're going to talk about Google. We're going to talk about things going on here. We're also going to discuss the technology, how it's happening, what we've got connected here between computers and Google and presentations and human beings. And yeah, I'm seeing myself in the shot over there. We've got all sorts of stuff set up crazy today. And the last shout out, Alex, I swear this is the last one, is to Franchise Operations and Support. It's a group on LinkedIn, right, Simon?
That's correct.
And anybody out there who joined us from LinkedIn, awesome. Glad to have you. Now get on Google+. And as I said, this is an open discussion. So as we go through the presentation, if you have a question, raise your hands. I already know that. What's your name, sir? Michael? I know you and I are going to have all sorts of fun talking about Google. I didn't mean to make you cough and choke and die. That really wasn't my plan. I only do it to the detractors at the beginning. Yes, I know. Jeez, I'm sorry, man, really. So we'll get started here. This presentation, the web was made for writers. That was the original title of this, actually 3 years ago. I just keep changing it and updating it, right, Alex? You've seen the same thing over and over again, right?
Yeah, I'm getting kind of sick of it, but I'm sure they'll enjoy it.
Yes, they will. I know you guys are going to have a hard time hearing Alex. Simon, you can kick that up a couple notches if you want in the volume. It should be okay. Alex, let me know if you're hearing any feedback issues, okay? No,
Okie dokie.
Just the volume on the keyboard of the Mac. Just up twice, 2 notches. Ding, ding. All right. So let's get into this. I said the web was made for writers. That was the original title of it. But the truth is, we're all writers. So it's not exclusive to any one individual or niche. We all have to write on the web. Much more so than you think. But this was the title I wanted to use. All right. The illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. How many of you remember that book, Future Shock, Alvin Toffler? Okay. His statements ring more true today than they did before. All right. The education gap, the understanding gap, our understanding of the web. I met a guy yesterday. I was talking to him just about Google stuff, and he looked at me and he said, "So that SEO stuff, is it BS?" Now, how many of you have heard of the term SEO? I need to start there. Pretty much everybody in here? Okay. This is the Oregon Technology Business Center. Technology being the key piece there. That's really good because I was flabbergasted. Like you think SEO is BS still? I mean, resolved that 5 years ago. Okay. The nice thing is that SEO has changed fundamentally. October of this year, October of last year, it changed fundamentally, and he doesn't even need to think about SEO in the way we were arguing about it years ago. SEO, the nuts and bolts of it, the fundamentals, they haven't changed. What it's focused on, that's changed. Anyway, the title of this was originally Embrace the Web or Die, because most writers have no understanding what they need to be doing on the web. Most business owners really don't know what they need to be doing on the web today. So we're going to get into that a little bit with the Google service sphere. This is, we could stop the whole discussion and presentation here. If we can get through this, 15 years in 5 minutes. In the beginning of the web that we all call the modern web, which I'll call the Google web, right? The Google web is 90% of our search volume. So I know there's Bing and I know there's Yahoo, and I'm not arguing with anybody who says they're great search engines and we've got alternatives, and I'm not going to get into a discussion of the people that say, but Google is a monopoly and they're going to take over the world and Skynet and okay. I understand that, but for right now, Google is benevolent, and their model is don't be evil, all right? We started with Google in 1998 with PageRank. PageRank was the first decent database of web entities. That's it. Google said, we've got AltaVista and other places. We're going to create an algorithm. Algorithm, everybody in here in tech knows what that is, right? Okay, I know you do. I'm going to create an algorithm that actually indexes things based on some parameters that we have set up. These parameters are going to focus on the object. This is the first important part of understanding the shift in 15 years from where we were to where we are. It was focused on the object, the website, the web entity, the domain name. It had nothing to do with human beings. The fact that you wrote the content was irrelevant. It was just about the domain. So PageRank was about giving rank and value to domains, web entities, not people, objects. So it could be an object you created on GoDaddy.com or your social space on Facebook, but you now have the opportunity to grow these spaces around keywords that you focused on, so that when they were indexed by Google by this algorithm called PageRank, they placed you in an order for those terms. And in the beginning, it was very rudimentary. And we could all game it. This is where SEO came from, the idea of, all right, we see you've used the word bubblegum 9,000 times on that page. You have to be the definitive site on bubblegum, right? Or boobs, or whatever it happens to be. And in the beginning, it was all porn. I mean, that was what they figured it out first, okay? Porn and advertising figured out what to do with the web first, how to game the algorithm. Let's move forward. Let's move forward to about 2009 and 2010, where we get what's called authorship. We start to see the beginning signals. We have this place called Google+, and everybody went, oh yeah, Google+. Now that didn't come along until a little bit later, but authorship, the concept of authorship in Google+, and where these things are, was the beginning of a signal from Google to change from the object to the human being. Google said, okay, companies can pour a whole bunch of money into websites. Big companies can pour all sorts of money into their web activities, and they can game the system to the point where they make it look like they're much better than they really are. Their object is much better than they really are. They can crank out the content, pay a bunch of people to do all this SEO stuff, and rank higher. And Google has been fighting that, had been fighting that for years, until they said, you know what? Let's stop focusing on the objects. Let's focus on the people that put the content on the objects. Authorship is about shifting from PageRank to what we will call author rank. For those of you out there who are SEO nerds, and there's plenty that I talk to all the time in Plus, I do not want to hear you tell me that author rank does not exist yet. We understand that. Authorship, author rank, two different things. Authorship is merely the attachment of you as a human being to the content you write on the web. That's pretty huge. What Google said, in a nutshell, was if you create an account, and this is why anonymity doesn't work anymore. You create an account in Google+. You link that account as you, the human being, to the objects that you put your content on. And we will give you, the human being, credit for that content. Not the domain. You, the human being. So you will have a rank. You will have a value for the keyword space that you write about, that you talk about. This is a huge change. Huge change. That was 2009, 2010. Anybody have any questions about that? Or are we all cool with that? Okay. Alex, anybody out there in the audience? Do we have an audience out there yet today?
We have a couple in Plus. We have Scott Worthington. He's someone that I talk to and I know. So hi, Scott. And the our ever faithful Zach Palm is out there. Who the one person in Plus who makes me feel old. Thanks, Zach.
Nice.
And then we have a couple people on YouTube. Roger, I'm gonna butcher this. Devine.
All right.
and a Scott Lewis.
Roger and
so
Scott.
far.
Friends of yours, Simon?
Sure they are.
All right. Hello, both of you guys. If you have any questions, just put them in comments. Alex will let me know. Alex, just shut me up.
Yeah, you're definitely like way over your 5 minutes, by the way.
5 minutes on what?
You said it says Google's history in 5 minutes.
Oh, am I? Thank you. Thank you, Alex. This is,
You're
she
welcome.
keeps me straight.
That's what I'm
That's her
here
job.
for.
Okay. I know I'm over 5 minutes. Thank you. Let's move on. So right now, there's the reason why we go into Google Plus is so that we can actually get credit for what we do. Credit for what we write. I don't want to give it to my domain anymore, and I don't want to give it to the brand I work for. I want myself to have that credit. But in order for me to get that credit, I can't be anonymous. See? I have to have a face. I have to put my information into my profile. I have to claim I exist, and then I have to put effort into my existence. I have to be who I claim to be. It's about honesty and transparency. And the last piece of this, all right, the hummingbird, this is the panda, this is a penguin, and this is a hummingbird. All right, that's what these are supposed to be. My lovely designer, M. Wells, put this together for me. Hummingbird is the new algorithm. We've ditched PageRank. We've taken the pieces of PageRank that we liked, some bigger chunks of it, the panda and penguin algorithm updates, the authorship update, and included them in what we have today. We do not have PageRank today. That algorithm is not functioning anymore. The algorithm today is called Hummingbird, and it's semantic. It is Star Trek. And you can laugh, but the truth is, it is Star Trek. Because it is semantic, it is historical, it is contextual, it is learning, it is preferential. Preferential not just to your IP, but your account. The results you see in search are yours and yours alone. No two people will get the same search results ever again because your activities online within the Google world, which is 90% of search volume, so pretty much the world, your activities are yours. And so the results you get back are personalized to your efforts. Why would I want to get a generic version of search results? I want what I want. And Google has been paying attention to what we all want. Right? This is part of the beauty of the system. It requires our constant input to make it better. And you can look at that in two different ways. You can say, Google's an evil machine that takes my input and makes billions of dollars. Right, but they give you back $1 billion worth of enterprise software to use for free. They give you back a search engine that works really well. They give you back the best advertising platform ever created. They make their money off AdWords. They don't need to make their money anywhere else. So they build products to get our input. That's it. If they can get our input, they can make better products like they've done with Hummingbird. 15 years in the making to grow a Star Trek web. There is no other company on this planet that has dedicated that much time to improving humanity's ability to communicate with each other. That's why I wear the shirt. I don't even work for the company. But if you're hiring. So, anybody have any questions about that stuff? It gets me all fired up because I'm really excited about the fact that we have the ability to communicate like this. Right? Alex is in Kent State. We've got people watching from all over the web. I've got a group of people in here with me. Right? We're doing this on equipment that costs less than $10,000 in total, and it's all stuff you can buy at prosumer. Right?
Does Google's famous "I feel lucky" box get you out of the search that's specialized to me? You know, what if I want to do something different, but I don't know what I want to do that's different, and you lose the serendipity if the search is focused.
That's an interesting point. So you can open an incognito window and surf anonymously, and then the results you get will be as anonymous as they can be, but still preferential to the IP address where you're at because it's localized. Right? You want to see local information. They're going to assume you want to see local information, but the truth is if you want to get out and see other things, then just get better at search. But I'm not trying to limit, I get what you're saying there. Serendipitous, I think there's enough of that already in the way search happens, right? So I know that doesn't really answer your question. I'm just trying to say I think we're better off with this version than the random lottery version.
John,
Yes.
The one question I do have, though, in terms of as a marketer trying to use this as a tool,
Sure.
then that means that if we're going in to do research to improve our own business, and we stick into that Google where they're reading off what we want, how do we find out what our customers want?
Well,
how has Google made that possible?
That's a great question. That's a great question. Thank you, Julie. You're not supposed to be using your search to research your customers. That's what Google Analytics is for.
That's right.
That's what third-party software is for. Google gives us analytics for free. They give us webmaster tools for free. If you're trying to identify what you need to do for business, you should be using the business version of search, which is analytics and webmaster tools. We don't do these things with our personalized search. That's for you to find where to take your kids to see a hockey game, right? So that's a great question. Thank you, Julie. I want to talk a little about how it was. Alex, thanks for bearing with me. I know you're going to be bored out of your mind for most of this. It's not the normal show.
Yeah. I can't even be like, no, this is a blast. Yeah, I'm pretty.
Well, we'll talk to you every once in a while. This is a completely
well,
messed up
thanks.
shot.
There are a couple more people that have shown up. There are a couple more people that have shown up. Annabelle Howard is here.
Hi, Annabelle.
And Davis Darvish. God, I want that name.
Just so you can say it.
Yeah, pretty much.
Hi, Davis. Awesome. This is a completely ruined shot. Those two pictures were supposed to be much bigger. I'm not sure what happened there. This is my interpretation of the old web. It was a Wild West. We had databases. Nothing worked very well. This is everything that I just said. Google came in and made it a lot better. This is important, though. Something I want to talk about with consistency in Google. These are their design and content guidelines, and these really haven't changed but for a couple words in 15 years. So when people say, well, what can I do to get on the good side of Google, or what can I do to improve my rankings with Google? Well, they told us a long time ago, make a site with a clear hierarchy. Think about the words users would type to find your pages and make sure that your site actually includes those words within it. Create a useful, information-rich site and write pages that clearly and accurately describe your content. What you don't see in this part is, and then do it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Keep doing it. Don't just do it and put it up there. The shift from page rank to human rank includes engagement. The shift from paying somebody to place content there and walk away to what we're all asking for today of our brand, a conversation. We want a two-way conversation. Google gave us the ability to have this feedback loop. Today, we have this feedback loop right now in a bunch of different ways. In order for you to grow you have to engage online. You have to be there. So how it is, we've come full circle in 40 years. Matt Cutts said this a little while back. The heart of a computer is now the network connection. How many remember bulletin boards? How many people remember mainframes? How many people remember punch cards? Anybody in here remember punch card? Really? Wow, shit. Alex, you probably don't even know what a punch card is.
Hey now, I used a punch card.
All right. Not computer punch card, but
Gregory Nelson is here, and he says, John combed his hair. This must be important.
Hi, Greg. Thank you very much. Greg Nelson with Canada Gold is another company that I'm helping bring into the Google world using Hangouts. They started to use Hangouts, business Hangouts, to bring their corporation in. How you doing, Greg? Greg is the Canada Gold version of the celebrity Will Gardner on The Good Wife. Anybody watch The Good Wife? I tell Greg all this all the time. He looks just like him. I was not intimidated by Greg with Canada Gold until I recognized that he looked like a lawyer. And now Greg intimidates me. Interesting. Anyway, back to this. Full circle in 40 years. Matt Cutts. How many people know who Matt Cutts is? Matt Cutts is head of Google's web spam team. That's really the wrong title for him. What he is the most known face to all the other nerds out there that study SEO. We take our cues from Matt Cutts. And poor Matt Cutts has had a hard time over the years being very, very careful with what he says, right? Because if you listen to anything he says about Google algorithm, the Google search engine, the rankings, he opens all statements with, in general, blah, 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 right? Because he can't give you any specifics because it's a living, breathing algorithm. It changes, it grows, it does different things. The point to this is, in the 70s, when we had the internet created for the purpose of protecting us from the Cold War, which was what DARPA wanted it for, and MIT and Caltech said this would be really neat to use for useful things like science and communication, it was a bulletin board system that was run by mainframes at colleges and pushed things to dumb terminals, right? The brains weren't in the computers. Those were just a typewriter, right, with a screen. And so what happened? We took that power and we miniaturized it. We put it into devices like this and devices like this, but now we're going the other direction. These devices are getting simpler. The Chromebook doesn't really have much for brains other than its ability to connect with the internet. Right? The services that we used to use, I shouldn't have switched to this yet, but all the services that we used, all right, for a while there in the 90s and the early 2000s, we bought software, tons and tons and tons of software, and we loaded our software into our machines and waited for updates, and we hated it. Today, I use Google search software. I don't load Microsoft Office. I'm so glad to be done with Office, and Microsoft is scrambling to put Office on the web because everything's going back to web-based services. It's fast enough that we can just pull down the information. I can stream 1080p from this phone. Okay? That's crazy. So everything's going back to the way it started, which is we just access this wealth of information. We access all these services. This stuff, I know you guys are keeping up because this is a technology center. When I asked this to a group of writers, they're like, that's the Bionic Man and that's total science fiction. And I'm like, no, this is all real, right? We have flying cars. There's models that are competing right now. Robotic arms. We printed hearts. We're printing lungs. What I was telling you this morning, Simon, right? Alex, did you see that post come through on Google Plus about the houses? Printing the houses, the 3D printing?
Yeah, I did. I watched a video actually on 3D printing and the history of 3D printing. It already has its own history. Isn't that fascinating?
There's a history of 3D printing. That's pretty crazy. But and the article I'm talking about in Google Plus is there are two companies now competing with each other to build houses with a 3D printer. And the one in China is producing them in sections, modular sections. They can produce a house in like 10 days, and it costs $5,000. Talk about providing shelter for the masses. Talk about using this stuff to do something awesome. We are living in, and this is my favorite part of this whole thing, we are living in the science fiction that we can think of, because there's no such thing as science fiction. It's just research and development. You come up with an idea, you put it into research and development, and see how long it takes and how much money it takes to make exist. Right? It's a Google world. I just want to make sure we have enough statistics. Okay? Handles 90% of global search volume. Every other web service is indexed by Google. So if you say, well, why be on Google Plus? It's like Facebook, then you really need to open your eyes and recognize that Google Plus is actually the social layer of the Google search engine, and in Google's mind, Vic Gundotris said, I have a quote later on, said it's the extension, the replacement thereof, the evolution. Google search is Google Plus because everything you want to find in Google, you find in Google Plus. Right? But it's also the social layer. It's where we communicate with each other in real time, like this, right now. I do my business in Google Plus. I meet new customers, make new relationships in there with Hangouts. It's 10 times easier for me to sell something to a client when I can look at them in the face, they can look at me in the face, there's trust there, right? YouTube gets 1 billion unique visits a month, more than 1 billion. 45% of that global search happens on YouTube. YouTube gets about half of the search. Half your customers are looking for you in video. Video is the top tier of marketing for content, because from video, I can make a blog post, I can make a podcast, I can make a media gallery, I can chop it up into smaller sections and redistribute it out, and every single one of those is going to live on and be reshared, redistributed right? It's not like a network broadcast where they own it because it cost them $1 million to produce 3 minutes of content, and now they're not going to give it to anybody else ever. Right? These are just the Google products I could fit in a screen. Most of these cost nothing. All of these require our input, and that's all Google wants, is our input, because through input they figure out how to make new services. They figure out what data they can take out of us. So yeah, that piece exists. It's a symbiotic relationship. They want our data. Now, they've made it very clear that you can choose what data you want to share with them. You can go into your system and the settings and you can block everything. Don't be in business then. All right? If you want to be in business, then you cannot be anonymous. And you want to input into this machine as much as possible. But these are just the boring services. Let's talk about what else Google's doing. These are the things they're working on for global change. Right? We've got the driverless car. I can't wait for this to be here because I can't stand how everybody else in the world drives. All of you drive terrible compared to me. Okay? And my road rage cannot be contained. So I would much rather sit in my car like the movie Minority Report, read my tablet, and have my car take me to where I need to go. Right? Think about how this would affect insurance. If all cars can be computer monitored and driven or computer controlled in the event of an accident, we can eliminate accidents. We can eliminate deaths on the road. We can make all things travel faster and more efficiently. Right? That's one. Project Glass. Alex is wearing them right now. I believe that the wearable tech is going to completely change the way we communicate with each other. It already has. When I watch the way her kids' faces light up early in the morning, they're bored out of their minds early in the morning until they realize they're having a conversation with somebody in Greece. Right? It's very different.
What the heck? I'm awesome. What?
Sorry, Alex. It's Communications 1.
Sounds so
freshman.
awful. They're so bored with her, and then we show up and it's just a party.
All right. Well,
Come on. By the way, John, a lot of people on YouTube seem to be confused about how this is meant for them to watch and comment rather than actually come into the Hangout.
oh. Well,
Yeah.
so basically, everybody, if you're watching this, you comment on the YouTube stream. The problem is, Alex, if it's been shared and we're not using Comment Tracker, we're not getting all the comments. For everybody that wants to comment and watch, find the SEOWiSE event page or the original YouTube link. And then you comment there, and Alex is basically watching for comments. She's the one relaying the comments to me. That's the way we're doing it right now.
Right. They think, though, that they're supposed to get a link to actually come into the Hangout.
Oh.
And I'm not sure how that happened, but I just wanted... Can you just, like, tell them publicly that that wasn't the plan?
Well, who's asking?
I have a Brian Lockyer, who seems a little bit confused, and a Jim McCrite.
Okay, Brian and Jim, I apologize. This was meant more for watching, just YouTube online, and commenting in the stream in text, and we can talk to you that way. This was not meant as an invite into the Hangout. We can do those, but we figured we'd have a few too many people to do that for this particular one. So I apologize for the confusion. That is one of the things I will say I'm not pleased with Google. They have not made this easy to understand in terms of how Hangouts are connected with YouTube and the rest of Google and then all of it. I mean, they've made it very confusing, and the problem is they got a little ahead of themselves in terms of the big ball they were building, and then they forgot to check the tech level understanding of the mass consumer. Because the bulk of the mass consumer has no frickin' clue. They remember 1998, and they saw the web then, and they said, all right, and they haven't educated themselves at all from that point. Right? I deal with this every day in web development. That's not what I'm saying you guys are having a problem with. I'm just saying this is one of the reasons why we have confusion with the setup today. So I apologize for that. Contact lens, this is just so that people can check their glucose levels without in a non-intrusive method. Why not? Project Loon was putting up balloons in the atmosphere, the stratosphere, so that we could get Wi-Fi access across the continent of Africa, around the world. How did this project come about? I'm going to get it. I think it was Larry Page, right, Alex? It's Larry. Larry, right. Not Eric, Larry. Larry Page was sitting at a bus stop, cold, and thought, transportation sucks. And then he read an article about balloons being able to stay floating around the Earth for many orbits, whatever, in the stratosphere. And he thought, why can't we just do that and keep them up there? And they can. By adding a little oxygen and taking oxygen out of the balloon with a little controller, they can keep that balloon up there and where they want it to be. They can actually control its direction by its altitude. They've got these things going right now. And Calico, this is my favorite. Okay? For everybody that hates the medical industry, everybody that hates the insurance industry, this was announced to basically tackle death. Calico is a new company created by Google because they have the money to do that kind of stuff, where they're just going to tackle medical issues and resolve them. Right? So outside of the tons and tons of services that Google provides us for our input, they do these crazy moonshots. There is no other company that can put that kind of money into these things. And like I said, if it's all free, where's the profit? The profit comes out of this place. Advertisements, our display ads, our video ads. The YouTube video ad network is huge. Right? I wasn't even going to talk about this point, but just to give you a little idea, who here has heard of Maker Studios? Anybody? Alex has. Probably. You've heard of Maker. Good. I know you have, Dory. Maker Studios just got a purchase offer from Disney for, and just wait on it, $500 million. Although that's just the baseline. If they hit certain performance markers, they will get $950 million. They are the juggernaut in web broadcasting. They're a web broadcasting company. That's all they do is push web content to YouTube. Shows as silly as a 30-year-old playing World of Warcraft and cracking jokes and cussing that has 20 million subscribers, and he makes $7 million a year. Maker owns that guy. Okay? Maker is the juggernaut in web broadcasting. If you don't think web broadcasting is right now, Disney just told you it is, because they just invested almost $1 billion into Maker. This is where Google makes their money, though. The advertisements that land on YouTube, that land in our search. So they don't need money. This is their unofficial motto. Don't be evil. And it works. I heard a story from Larry Page about this. When he came into the company, he said he hated this. And then they were sitting around a table with a bunch of engineers talking about some project they were going to do. And the engineer said, one engineer raised his hand and said, "That's evil." And Larry was, "What? Why?" And he explained it. And everybody went, "Oh, I get that. It works." So it's a checks and balances system. It's too bad we just can't make that the Constitution. Right? Might be a little simpler. I don't mean to go off on Google so much, but I just want you guys to understand the amount of change. These are all the major algorithm changes that have happened over the course of the years. Now think about, just think about something in comparison. Windows software and how many iterations and the issues and the updates. Okay? This is proactive compared to reactive. Right? What does this mean? That we have this web now that's semantic, this web that's about human beings. Right? It's no longer object-oriented. If there's one thing I want to make so clear is it used to be about the object. It used to be about the object. Now it's about the human being, but that means that you as the human being have to be there. You have to show up. You have to be real and transparent and who you are. From creation to creator, I just had to show that thing again. That's what we're talking about. You can no longer be anonymous. That's the bottom line. Because if you want to have credit for the work you do, you need to tie the work you do to a real human being. It can't be a persona. It can't be your logo. This is what Eric Schmidt from Google had to say about authorship when it came out. Within search results, information tied to verified online profiles will be ranked higher than content without such verification. I can prove this to you. Which will result in most users naturally clicking on the top verified results. The true cost of remaining anonymous, then, might be irrelevance, even the most fascinating content might tied to an anonymous profile simply won't be seen because of its excessively low ranking. It won't be trusted. Everybody says, well, you want me to show me, it's Big Brother, you want my serial number and everything I've got, and the government's going to come in. Well, first of all, this is Google. The rest of what Eric Schmidt had to say was exactly that. If you're going to be concerned at all, don't be concerned about us. Be concerned about the government that comes in and wants to take the information, okay? However, you are Big Brother. We are Big Brother. Are you seeing what's going on in the world today? In Turkey, they tried to shut down the internet, access to certain places. There were people spray painting IP addresses on walls for people to get out to the internet. There were people creating backdoors, servers in their garages. We now have the ability to communicate. We can say, screw you government, screw you business. We can do it on our own. Right? This is the real freedom. We are the watchers. We are the watchers now. Okay? But in order to watch, in order to have it count, in order for us to get credit for what we do on the web, we have to stand up and go, this is my face, this is who I am. Right? You can't fake it anymore. Which means businesses can't fake it anymore, and that's the huge thing. Brands are being driven to put real human beings in front of their logos because we're demanding a two-way conversation. I love this guy. Hangouts, Authorship, and Google+. One of the best memes ever. There's an interview with this guy that they just pushed out. I actually think through Google, and it's really hilarious. This right here, these are the effects of authorship and personalization, of getting the results the way we want. So here's me down here. This was a little experiment I did last year. I started focusing on a particular keyword space. I wanted to rank some content of mine for a page. But what you're seeing here is the effect of authorship. When you tie your profile from Google Plus to your website, and you've got a nice picture in there, and you've got all the dots and I's and T's crossed and dotted, this is what you get. So here's Bruce Clay up at the top of these search results. Here's Jill Whalen, and here's little old me. Now, Bruce and Jill are both really big names in the SEO industry. I'm a pipsqueak. But it doesn't matter. Because look at the other results that are in here. And then tell me this. If you just came to this page and you didn't know any of these people, what 3 results would you more likely click on? Right. Because it's a signal of trust. We see a human face, and as long as it's not a scary one or making a weird face or a logo, we go, I see trust here. I see trust here. And then we move into the words. This little signal means that there's something about this that's preferential to me. I have a connection somehow with this individual through my Google experience on the web. This tells me a lot about her. Jill Whalen is in 7,030 at this point in time, Google Plus circles. That's a huge trust factor. Right? So when you search on the Google web and you're connected with authorship, you will see, oh, this person is connected with authorship, and there's her face, so I trust her more. And 7,800 Google Plus circles include her. That's a huge, huge trust factor. Personalized search is the norm. I see different results based on my history, my friends' history, and their actions. The people we're connected with affect our search results. And we affect other people's search results. In a nutshell, I'm just going to skip this stuff. You can read it if you want. You grow your authority around a keyword space by building relationships. That is literally what has changed with SEO. We are no longer focused on keywords. We are no longer focused on the nuts and bolts of SEO that people have talked about for 10, 15 years. It is about your engagement online around what you do. The more you engage, the more you get credit for it if you tie it to Google Plus and the web, the Google web.
What are the bars?
What are the bars?
The red and blue bars on each.
Oh, this is a little plugin that gives me different information. That's just a plugin I installed that's giving me SEO information. It's not part of the regular search results. And it's showing you page authority, domain authority. This is from Moz, Pro Tools. Moz is a third-party software suite that helps you analyze your web space, your web presence. Yes, Drew?
John, I just posted this on the YouTube feed. If, for example, I'm looking up information on the World Cup, does Google pull up information based off of my circles? So will they go into my circles and pull those articles up first?
Not first. It's just going to look at them. It's just
Okay.
going to include them in the
Are
possibilities.
they going to rank them? If they already see that I have a connection with them in Google Plus, will I get their info before it would give me general info off the web?
No.
Okay.
And I can and yes, no, maybe it's not. It's not that black and white.
Okay, good.
Yeah. The algorithm is very complex. It takes into account. It's as complex as our relationships are. Okay. Where it pulls the information to show you is going to depend on all sorts of things. More than 250 factors, which was the old algorithm. I have no idea what Hummingbird has in it. Google Plus posts, and I want this to be very, very clear. When you write a post in Google Plus, because Plus is not just a social entity, it is a blogging platform with rich text formatting where you can add media. Right? So, how many of you used LinkedIn in here on a regular basis? LinkedIn just pushed out the and hey LinkedIn folks, I know you're using LinkedIn. LinkedIn just pushed out some kind of a blogging update publishing platform. Right? Facebook did this too. Interesting, because they're all going, oh crap, we need to add blogging to our social sites. We need to give people a place to put content. So this is Ron Miller, he's a friend of mine. This is a Google Plus post, plus.google.com. This is his post. It's permanent. Whatever posts you write in Google Plus are permanent. They're indexed, just like a blog post on your WordPress site or anywhere else. They can rank for the keyword space, all right? So here's Ron ranking for whatever terms I put in here to get him, I probably mesothelioma, because he's a lawyer and that's what he does. But it shows me, Ron Miller posted this. I have a relationship with Ron. Somewhere in here it talks about his circles, but I'm not seeing it. But that's a plus URL, okay? Facebook URLs do not rank in SERPs. Twitter posts do not rank in SERPs. Okay, search engine ranking reports as SERPs, right? In other words, if you wrote in Google Plus, you could rank you could rank these posts for a keyword space, right? You can't do that anywhere else. So when people say, why get on Google Plus? I go, how about that? For a reason. If you're in business, you should understand exactly what that means. And we can track growth. This is Circle Count. This is a free service that tracks your growth, your engagement, and people who engage with you in Google Plus. So this is my growth over time. So is people following me.
What's that called again, please, John?
Circle Count.
Circle Count? Is it a Google tool?
It's not a Google tool. It's a third-party tool that has access to the Google API. It's a free service, and they're just fantastic. This gives me all sorts of ranking information about me. And the important part about this, everybody, is that it's ranking data about a human being. It's not about the object. It's about the human being. Alex, I want to bring you back into this before you really, really fall asleep. When you and I got started working with SEOWiSE as the brand, I mean, we started looking at this and recognizing the shift, right? The difference in what it meant to our engagement. Can you expound a little bit on what you saw, the differences you saw when you started posting as the brand, when you started representing the brand as a human being?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely do better. And the interesting thing about being the voice of a brand is that people recognize me first, and then they go to the brand page. So it's really important for me to have my own profile, keep up my own profile before even touching the brand page, because people look at me and they like what I post, they like me as a person, and they say, okay, oh, so she works for SEOWiSE, oh, she writes as SEOWiSE, and then they end up circling SEOWiSE and following what we're doing. And it's made, getting guests on our shows so much easier, not because I'm SEOWiSE, but because I'm me and I represent myself in Google Plus. That's the big connection that I've seen.
Yes. Yes, Dorian.
So what happens when Alex leaves SEOWiSE?
That's a great point. So that's excellent. That's exactly where we need to go. So what Alex is describing is that in Google Plus, the way this functions is that we're all human beings. We all have our own profiles, and that's who we are. We can all manage a brand entity. Brands are pages. So I created the SEOWiSE page as a brand page off of my profile, but then I let Alex manage it, and other people manage that page. So we can all speak for the brand. We can all write posts as the brand, or we can write posts as ourselves. Okay? All the things you can do as a human, you can do as a representative of the brand. But this way you get more people, all right, that can do it. When Alex leaves, it's not that she takes anything away from the brand page per se, but she takes whoever follows her away, right? Anybody that is more interested in Alex and not SEOWiSE as the brand is going to stay with Alex. Okay? They may stay with both, but if she goes and represents another company, another brand, she's going to pull with her the people that give a shit about Alex more than they care about whatever brand she's representing. This is the power of human, not object. Okay? Everything in the past with corporate branding has been make the brand big. Don't show the people. Don't show anybody our crazy ass people behind the brand. Give them some PR person who can speak really nice and clean. Give them a white, label version of the brand. Tell the people what they want. Push content out. Make them feel better. That doesn't work anymore. I want a conversation, a real conversation with a brand. When something sucks, I want to be able to tell them, and I want somebody to come back and at least placate me. At least say, I'm sorry that our product sucked for you, right? Brands are now being told you have to come into Google+, you have to be transparent, we're tired of the BS, no lying, and we want you to be who you are. Who are the people that represent your brand? Google has been leading the charge in that. We all know more people who work at Google than any other big box brand because their names get floated around all over and they're out there engaging. You probably can't think of them right now, but Vic Gundotra, Eric Schmidt, Matt Cutts, Larry Page, Sergey Brin. Am I missing any, Alex? Chi-Chu.
No, Vic Gundotra actually put out a Plus post today. He said that he's going to be in Texas and he'd love to know what people think of Google+. He gave a time and a place to meet him. I wish I was in Texas.
Everybody hear that? That's called putting your humans in front of your brand. Vic Gundotra, who's one of the vice presidents of some giant part of Google, is in Texas, put out a post and Plus said, I'm going to be in Texas. I'll be here at this time. Meet me. Okay. That's not a PR stunt. We chat with these people. We don't have big, long, in-depth conversations. I don't go hang out and have a beer with any of these guys. But Chi-Chu is one of the VPs of Hangouts, of Google+. When I mentioned him, hey, I'm having problems. This was like a year ago. I was just, I didn't know who he was. I didn't realize what I was doing. And I Plus mentioned him and I was ranting about something I couldn't figure out. And he responded to me. That's different. This is that one thing, okay? From a brand, for the human being of the brand to respond. He didn't respond to me as the brand. He responded as him. That's so much more powerful. When Alex responds as her to somebody who's been paying attention to our brand and not as the brand, that's powerful. When I respond as the brand, because Alex does the voice work for SEOWiSE, she really is the brand. She has control of that. I want it to be a unified voice, right? So I jump in, but I put in parentheses. I said, John here, just want to say something. But that's also a perceived signal of ooh, right? Ooh, John stepped in and talked as the brand. He never does that. That's Alex's job. Right? There's all these levels of perception and trust and friendship and relationship that are now created through this system. But the bottom line is we want the people first. I want to know the Larrys and the Tims and the Franks and the Bettys that work at Best Buy. And then I'll follow them and get to know who they are. I want to know about their cats and their bacon and what they do for a living. We want rounded brands. So this is it. Why Google+? Because Google is the web. Google+ is your social security number on the web. There's nothing more that needs to be said. And we can stop here. Who you are is more important than what you do. Being online is how you prove who you are and build trust in what you do. No trust, no sales. I misspelled proof. I know. I just saw that. If you cannot commit to being on the web, I urge you to find another career. If you're in business for yourself, you have to be online, or you have to pay somebody else a lot of money to do it really well for you. But not being online is not an option. Sorry for the double negative grammar, people. Transparency required. Leave personas at the door. I don't want a fake version of you. I want the real deal. I want raw. I want who you are. Now, I don't share all of me with everybody. All right? You don't need to know what I do at 6 in the morning. Okay? in the bathroom. I don't share my breakfast. I'm not saying I want to know all the little tiny details. What I'm saying is just be authentic. Be who you are. Nothing contrived. The concept of a persona for your own protection, what you're really doing is hurting your ability to have that real connection with another human being. So what must you do? We'll take a breather here. Any other things or comments online, Alex?
No, Julie's keeping me entertained though.
What? Oh, are you?
I'm chatting with her.
Excellent.
John, I do have a question.
Yeah.
Dorian and I talk about this all the time. You know, he's writing the book on innovation. We're watching the increase of the deep dark web, Bitcoin, etc. There is a backlash to this extreme openness that Google is asking us to do. So, you know, I have a web business. We all here, we have our web businesses. I do feel there's a point though where we're going to have to start protecting ourselves, because with everything out there, advertising is bombarding us. It's our email, you know, Google knows what we say in our emails and the ads on the side, because I've done AdWords since 2002. Where are we going to draw the line between personal privacy and why people are wanting to move to the deep dark web, for example, and what Google's asking us to do? I'm just interested in your opinion on that. Because I know how much you love Google, and I know how much I have to use it, but there's still quite a bit of us out there who are, I mean, I'm aware, you know, I call it the Google Kool-Aid, and I love your enthusiasm, and I really believe in that, but I like that you did address the privacy issue. What are we supposed to do when we've put everything out there and Target, 40 million people, got their cards taken, for example? How do we protect ourselves while at the same time being transparent on the web? I know that's a huge question, but it is a big Google question for Google circles.
Is that great Kool-Aid in that thermos you get?
That's just tea with a lot of caffeine, and this is water. But no, I've been called a Google Kool-Aid drinker, and yes, I kind of am. I'm not saying they're all around perfect. Okay, they're still a business. They're still making money. To answer your question about privacy, nobody's going to like this answer. I'm just going to say it. If you are worried about protection, educate yourselves. Everything you need to know about protecting yourself online comes down to you understanding how online works. People that are like, well, but my email did this, and I don't need, which they need SSL and blah, blah. It's like, learn. Just go online and Google it. Okay? If you want safer services, choose them. I get people that go back and forth on what's safe, what's not safe, privacy, not privacy. Bottom line is, pick decent passwords or use a program that stores the passwords for you. There is no way to protect yourself 100% from anything going online, right? I think that battle that you're talking about is going to constantly happen. How many of you have seen the show Almost Human? I want to use this as an example to reference. Almost Human, anyone?
The Fox show.
It's okay, cool, yeah. It's a J.J. Abrams show. I love my J.J. And it's such a great science fiction writer. The concept is that we're a little bit farther in the future. Technology, we're starting to see this now. Technology has gotten to the point where we can't control it. You can't control what's happening in the biotech and the other tech, and so you've got black market tech. People taking, and obviously it's a little in the future, so you've got people taking hearts and like modifying them, putting like superchargers in them, putting them in bodies. People using that for extortion. Your heart has an expiration point, and if you don't pay the money, it's going to stop, right? But I see this happening right now with tech. Right? My answer is this: the only way to protect ourselves is to educate ourselves and be open. The more of us that are open, the shadows, the dark isn't going to be able to get in there. Okay, if you eliminate the need to hack in that sense, it's not going to happen. If you protect yourself the right way with privacy, that's the best we can do. I mean, the Target thing, we all have information in these giant corporate databases. Okay, one of the biggest issues is somebody told me the other day, why would you put all of your data on Google? Why would you store it on the cloud and not store it locally? Like, well, because I trust Google's cloud before I trust what happens with my local machine, truthfully, right? Well, what happens if Google dies and goes away? All your content's gone. No, it's not. It's been perpetuated on the web. It's been shared through so many other sites and services. I don't lose it. It's out there. It's the seed has been spread. I'm not worried about that. Right? I'm more concerned about how other people perceive me on the web. I want to make sure that I'm representing me in the best way. If I'm doing that, I don't worry about anybody else. So I know that's a lame answer. It really doesn't address privacy the way you'd like it, but
No, it's an answer.
the biggest gap, the biggest problem we have right now with all of this is the education level between the average consumer and what's going on in tech. And so, the faster we can close that gap, the safer we'll all be. Because a lot of legacy systems are only there to help the people that won't step up to the plate and learn the new stuff. This is my favorite part of the whole thing. Really. Content is not king anymore. This has been the statement for years, that content is king. I said it the last two conferences, not the Rose City Romance Writers. You weren't at that one, Julie. But I think I said it at the NSA presentation. With the semantic web, with Hummingbird, content is no longer king. You, the human being, are king. Right? You, the human being. You have to optimize yourself. Okay? So when we talk about SEO, it's not about SEO, the object, search engine optimizing of your web space. It's search engine optimizing yourself. How do I engage online? I need to optimize my effort online so that I can be found. These are your two objectives, really. You can go to all these places. They're all good places for various things, although she actually has YouTube plugged in there, and this is an old slide. But Google Plus is where you need to be if you want to grow your authority for a keyword space. All these other places are nice, and you can put certain things there, and they're an aspect of your profile, but they're extensions. This is the heart. Your website, your domain for your business is no longer the heart of your business. Your Google Plus profile and your brand page are, because these are where you prove who you are. Your website is simply a place that gets credited as the publisher of your content. That's it, the publisher. You are the author. You get credit for what you do if you show up.
If you blog on WordPress or other sites, do you need to simultaneously with Google Plus, or are you suggesting switch to Google Plus?
My suggestion would be to blog on Google Plus and let that propagate out to everywhere else. There's a difference between blogging on Plus as the social space and blogging on your website. Currently, and thank you for bringing this up, Dorian, it's a good question. Right now, Google wants to see the relationship between your website and Plus, where you can also blog. The difference between these two spaces is, and Alex knows this very well, most of our content is done in Google+. It's short form content. We've seen a change in content over the last 15 years. It used to be there was just content. Then we had blogging. So we had static pages, then we had blogging. Then we had static pages, blogging, and then we got microblogging, tweets, right? 140 characters of useless information. I just can't stand Twitter. But we've got three formats now. What's happened? What's shifted? We have this piece of SEO now, schema, called in-depth articles. In-depth articles are 500 words or more. They're supposed to be around 1,500 plus. They're like academia articles, except relevant and timely. No offense to your academia buddies, Alex. Shaking your head. So what they are is, on your website, you should be putting in-depth articles. On your website, you should be putting 1,500 word more big works. This is where your thesis works go. Your website is where you store that stuff that really defines, here's what our company does, blah, 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 case studies, big things. Google Plus is where you write timely information, 150 to 250 to 300 words. You're dropping an image in, you're posting that, or you're using Google Plus to write a summary of a longer blog post you put on your website. Okay? And without getting into all the technical fun of that, everything is integrated or can be integrated. So comments that show up on your website are linked to the post when you reshare that blog in Google Plus, and vice versa. So we can integrate all the activity, the engagement, because what it's really about is not just producing the content, it's engaging online in real time. The conversations we have in the social space around our content, that's what Google's looking for. The semantic modern web is a real-time gauge of what we're talking about and whether it's relevant to who we are. So if we spend 5 hours a day talking about bacon, we are going to be an authority on bacon as far as Google is concerned. Right? This is not what Google Plus is. Going back to this. I love this. I don't know where that came from, but I love the guy who came up with that. You're doing relationship sales, okay? This is, I love doing this. This is fun. Thank you. When you get into a social space, thank you for coming. What you're doing here is meeting people. Everybody remembers dating, right? Haven't had to do that in a while. But we didn't walk into wherever we were dating, whether it was a bar when I was in my 20s. You didn't walk in and go, hey, who in here wants to have sex? Right? Right? I'm a guy. Let's do it. I see 3 ladies. Right? Nobody does that. But when you walk into a social site and you go, buy my book, like my page, you're asking for sex. Right? You're asking for so much more than the relationship with those people demands. Right? So when you walk into a social space, treat it like you're dating and listen. 80% of your time should be spent listening to other people and engaging on their content. Be a honeypot. It's designed for building relationships. Mike Elgin is a very well-known travel blogger, tech blogger. As a matter of fact, now he's landed a home at Twit TV, which is a web broadcasting channel, studio in Petaluma, California. Okay? Twit TV has been around a long time. Neil Laporte. After 10 years of blogging with conventional blogging sites and services, I abandoned that approach a year ago and started blogging on Google+. Why? Because Google+ is by far the best blogging platform. He writes, for him, this is different. He writes blog articles, puts them up on the web all over the world, okay? So his content is really written for other people, but he blogs his personal stuff, puts his content into Google+ because he gets credit for it. It's all right there. He doesn't need any more than what Google+ provides as far as a blogging platform, and he gets all the credit he needs from it. Here's Vic Ganotra. At its simplest level, Google+ is a social layer across all of Google services. He's updated that to basically say, look, it is the next evolution of the Google search engine. Okay. Google Now, how many have heard of Google Now? Google Now is an app that you can put on, I believe, iPhone. They've updated it, it's better, Android devices. It's literally real-time information. So it's constantly looking on the web. Okay? And if it knows that I'm getting on a plane in a couple hours and I'm driving around town and it sees that I'm on my way to the airport, it will actually say, by the way, there's traffic over here. You might want to take this route instead. Okay? It is a thinking, real-time search engine that actually looks at your life because it's connected to your life and says, hey, this is happening. Hey, your pants are on fire, right?
So it's GPS based?
GPS, it's everything based. Yeah, it uses all of the Google service sphere to help figure out what you've got going on and help move you through your day. All right?
Tired, it pulls you right into Starbucks.
Seriously, that's not a joke. That's not a joke. Let me just tell you about something awesome.
Google, I noticed.
Yes.
There's already patents. There are patents in the work for using Google Glass. And when Alex looks through Google Glass, she's looking at a heads-up display. How many of you have seen the picture of the heads-up display? Okay. And Alex, I wish we had brought glass into it so they could actually see that crap. But what they've done is they can now use sensors to look at your eyes, and they will be showing AdWords through these sensors. Okay. If you, two things they can do with this. If you focus on the ad for enough time, the person who placed that ad gets charged. If you focus on that ad for enough time and your pupils dilate, they know that it interested you and you get charged more. Okay? Minority Report advertising. Okay? Google Now is literally, if I had my notifications on, I could tie Google services in. I could walk into the Gap jeans just like Minority Report and have Google Now tell me that my size is on sale. Okay? This is the difference is that I choose the level that it engages in my life. Okay? We are all in control. So whenever somebody says, well, I don't want that in my life, and Google just pushes all this on me, go get educated, Google it, and fix the notifications because it's all under your control. You are in control. They gave you that control. You just have to learn how to change the dials. Okay? You have to learn how to twist the knobs. This is my buddy Neil Ferree. He and I started working at Google Plus around the same time. He's got a much bigger following than I do because he's really engaged. He spends every minute of his day in Google Plus working social media. Okay, but I watched this happen a little while ago. I don't remember when this was, and this was just beautiful. Neil engages online a lot. This was a conversation that I picked up from Cynthia. I was involved in a little bit. She says, your consistent content turned me into a fan. Would you like to be on our show? Boom. That's business right there. I don't know who Cynthia is. I don't know what the show was. But for Neil, that was business. Because he engaged online as himself, authentically, and made a relationship with somebody who wanted to put him on a show. That's a regular occurrence. Alex, am I wrong? We see this kind of stuff all the time. The people doing shows. This is not an unusual thing, right?
Yeah, it's really not. I mean, all of the people that I talk to, I have met through Google Plus. I don't think anybody that we talk to on our shows, aside from the people that you meet in Oregon, are people that I actually know in a face-to-face context.
Right. This is just a screenshot to show you what the Plus stream looks like for those of you who are on Google Plus. It's a different experience. This is information for me. This is just a big post to the stream. It's a newspaper. This is my paper. I wake up every day, and this is where I get my information. Remember this? I just had to bring this up real quick, okay? Learn, unlearn, relearn. I'm doing that right now with these systems. Simon and I are both with these systems. This is new stuff, this tech, right? We're unlearning the way we both understood how video and audio and production work to learn how it works now with the web. It's different than what networks do. Network broadcasting, we're going to touch a little bit on this. Network broadcasting is typically $100,000 a minute to produce. This is produced at less than $500 a minute. Actually, this particular one is produced for free, but it's less than $500 a minute on average. Okay. The really big picture, this interesting Venn, is your engagement, your website, your content, Google+. That's it. Those things. Thank you so much. Talk to you later. There is no science fiction. Now we're getting into a little bit about Hangouts, what's going on here, this setup here. So those of you out in the internet, out there on the internets, what we've got going on is a Hangout. Alex is part of the Hangout. And we've used that to bring in her and another shot. This computer is running, all this computer is doing is showing the Google Drive presentation. But as I change the shots, as I change the presentation, it's actually linked into the Wirecast system. So on the broadcast side, you can see here, I'm actually changing that shot for the live broadcast. Right? It's not Simon. This lets the presenter be in control and the producer of the show take care of the shots. And all these things were set up beforehand. So we're using Hangouts, Google Drive, 2 laptops, an iMac, and we're doing a live presentation with somebody in Ohio and all of us here. This is what Hangouts blasted through a YouTube live stream can do with a little extra gear and some knowledge. And this is what Simon and I do as part of our company, Hang3 Productions, and Alex is part of that as well. If anybody's interested in knowing more about that, working with us, we are a new company, but that's because this entire technology is fairly new. There are lots of people on the broadcast side of things in web broadcasting that are familiar with one-way push, but this is a feedback loop, and this can be used for businesses to produce shows of their own, content marketing, bringing in sponsors and advertisers to do something bigger. We have staff writers, we have everybody for that. So just wanted to show you a little bit about this. These are Google Hangouts. That's what these are. These are shows being put on as either a Hangout, live Hangout on air, or a YouTube live stream, where you can just join in. So there's Meredith Vieira and Valerie Harper, Mark Vonnegut and Virtual Readout, Pan American Center presents Erica Young. I'm sure a lot of people went to that. This is just one screenshot of the kind of shows that are going on all over the place. Yes, sir?
Are they broadcast in 1080p?
Most of them are. The ones that are well produced are. So like even with this show, this is being broadcast in 1080p right now. But everybody has the option of choosing a lower bandwidth signal. So you can go from 360p all the way to 1080p. You have to have the right equipment and know what you're doing to broadcast this. But essentially, any building, like this building, has a 50 megabit per second down and a 10 megabit up. That's all I need. And the down isn't even important. 10 megabit up, which is something you can get at home through Comcast. So it's doable for anybody. You can become a broadcaster. Yes?
With video being the top of the content hierarchy, as you pointed out, how's the search engine ranking SEO managing video today, tomorrow?
That's a great question. SEO for video is a lot of the same principles and foundational things that you would do with a blog page. You've got description, you can fill it in. You've got a title, you can fill it in. You're just using your keyword space. The big bonus around video is this. A transcript is created automatically. Okay? In other words, your video is indexed, just like a blog post. Everything that is said in the conversation is being indexed. How accurate is that index? Well, it's getting better and better and better. The speech-to-text recognition that Google has on the phones now is phenomenal. Okay? The transcript, okay?
So Google automatically is creating a transcript?
Yes.
Can you go in and fix it?
Oh, yeah.
You can see it and
Yep.
correct it?
Yep.
Okay.
So they're already indexing the content. I'm sorry, what?
She said that's cool. I'm
That's
sorry.
Yes, it's very cool.
I want to paraphrase.
They do transcript. You can load up a closed caption file.
How do you get to that?
You have to put your video on YouTube. You have to go to your YouTube channel, and then it's all right there. You go into that particular video and edit it, and you can get all those things.
So for this particular program on YouTube, eventually the transcript will
Yep.
just be there.
Yep. And once this is packed up there, like you said, Steve, you can read, you can go back and back up through it. How long it takes to generate the transcript is all up to what's going on with YouTube and rendering and stuff.
We're talking minutes, hours, days.
I've never really looked to see when it shows up. So I don't know. It's a great question. Let's just see how long it shows up, Alex. You when we're done with this, Alex, take a peek and see if the transcript is already there. I don't know. All right. But here's the other thing. So you get
All
your
right.
transcript, but you can also just download the audio file, send it up to another service, and for $1 a minute, they'll translate it perfect. So now you've got a giant blog post. Take that, chop it up, put it on your website, take the video, embed it, boom. You have a big blog post, lots of words, and the video. Google has not yet actually turned on the indexing of the actual words in the video, right? So until the transcript gets well enough that it's 100% accurate, they're not gonna index the words in the conversation, but they have told us that that is the plan.
So also they're not using the transcript today in optimization?
Right, they're not. So they're not using the words we say in the video yet. But they will be. Okay. The video itself, as a piece of content, is 10 times more valuable than a blog, okay? Because it can be put on a blog. It can be redistributed everywhere. Okay. It can be chopped up into smaller pieces. Because one thing we know, and one of the reasons we're doing what we're doing here, is because people get bored looking at headshots. This is a produced hangout because regular hangouts, no offense to all of my friends that do regular hangouts all the time, is content marketing. But if you're going to try to do something longer than 5-10 minutes, people are going to get bored at what they're looking at. And so this is designed like a television model. This is designed like a show, like network broadcasting. We've got multiple shots. We're keeping people interested that are watching online. Okay? But if you're thinking about this from a business perspective, let's say you're creating a show called Tell You All About My Business Show, and it's a half hour. We're going to break it up into 3 segments. All right? What's new, what's old, what's on sale. You produce the whole show in one shot with Wirecast like this. Then you pull it down. You chop up those segments. You put leader shots in front of it. Here's branded segment 1, branded segment 2, branded segment 3. You find sponsors who are interested in paying for that stuff, and you slap their logos on top of it. This section is brought to you by Car Wax because they wanted to. Right? Then you load them up there on your YouTube channel, and you put them under different playlists, and then you distribute them out through other places. And you're basically entering into the largest content network, the Walmart of video. But there are voracious readers there and watchers there. Right? The video, so that's just one piece. That's just one thing. We took one video, we chopped it up into smaller segments, we pushed it out there. Okay? Make a blog post out of it. Turn it into podcasts. Take that transcript, the crappy one, all right? Toss it. Go send it up to another place, pay $1 a minute, drop in a good one. Okay? Then you can go back into your video and annotate it. So you can place HTML buttons on top of it in certain key spots and say, if you're interested in this, click here and go buy it now. Right? So with a little post-production effort, not with anything that you have on your machine, you literally go to the web, go to your video, and Google says, do you want to annotate? You move to the spot, you put in what you want to say, you drop the link. Okay? 10 times more powerful, because now I'm watching the video, and right where it says, and this super bullet chopper is yours for $19.95, and then on the screen it says, and buy yours now. Okay? Right. Let's take it one step farther. Within these Hangouts right now, Best Buy did this at Christmas. They said, last minute shopper hangout. This is going to blow your mind. We talk about Hangouts. This is going to blow your mind. You can take a Hangout, because Hangouts are simply what we're doing here. It's a live, right? It's a video. It's a YouTube video. You put that on a post, and you put that post in Google+. Okay, great. That's nice. People can do that. We can do that. I can click on that and watch what's going on. I can join that if it's an open Hangout. Right? Now, take that idea and say, well, what if I want to take that post, because the post itself is a permanent URL, so it's a landing page. It's going to be there. It's not some fleeting thing. I want to make that my AdWords campaign landing page. So what Best Buy did was, over Christmas, they had last minute shopper ideas from Best Buy. Click here. And you clicked on it. And instead of being taken away to a regular web page or an ad like you were expecting, what you got was a window that opened up in front of you with a live Hangout going on that you could participate in right there. And the guy said, hey, welcome to the Hangout. I'm your Best Buy last minute shopper. What can we help you find? You tell me how powerful that's going to be between a brand and human beings. All right? Welcome to the modern way we communicate. This is web broadcasting. This is what we're doing. This is me at home with our setup talking to Todd. This is the crazy complicated stuff that Simon's looking at right there on Wirecast. The software is $1,000. Right? When you can put together a live broadcast studio for $10,000 and learn how to use it in about 3 months, that's pretty awesome. I'm not diminishing what we've done here, because Simon can tell you it has not been easy, all right? And we both have very extensive backgrounds in what we're doing here. But the fact is that it comes down to the ability to broadcast in the best means possible. From here, you can disseminate to all other forms. And you can track it insanely. I can get down to the granular, who's looking at it, when they're looking at it, when they redistributed it. And even better, this is performance over a long period of time. Look at the engagement and views. The thing that is the most powerful, that I can't express enough to business owners, is when you have the video out there, it's never going to die. You put it out there. It's not like paying $30,000 for a one-time commercial spot on a network and hoping that it gets reruns. This is, I made a video, it's there, and if I want to get more value out of it, I take it and push it out again, redistribute it, right? It's there. We've got videos a year old that people are finding and watching. Some of them are like, God, don't watch that. That's not even relevant material anymore. But every time they watch it, Google sees that and goes, oh, look, John Ellis had another one of his videos watched, and that video talks about this stuff, and so we're going to give him points for that. Daria Musk, we're almost done, I promise. We're coming up on a half hour. Daria Musk is in Google+. She's got 3.5 million followers on Google+. She is a musician who has built her career simply by using Hangouts to play music. Okay. I recently got her to connect with the School of Rock. I can't wait to bring the School of Rock into Google+. This is a Hangout with a live, stereo, awesomely broadcast concert. She is singing to us. This particular one, this was our first attempt at broadcast Hangouts. This is us in Denver. I'm in Denver. I'm using a wireless system. I didn't even have a wired connection from where we were broadcasting from the laptop to the router. And I'm pulling Daria in. She's in Connecticut. And we broadcast this out. You can still go find this and listen to the audio quality. It's fantastic, flawless. And everybody for us in the Hangout here, these are all the people from around the world that join us in the Hangout. I don't know if anybody around the world. Okay, United States, whatever. But these are all the people in different places in the United States joining us, okay? Daria sings her song. We've got all these people in the Hangout. For us, on our end, it was a disaster because everything was frozen because the bandwidth was like, what's going on here? But for the YouTube, for people watching on live, it was flawless because YouTube servers mitigate that. They buffer it for us. So it's this beautiful relationship between what's going on there. And listen, YouTube is only one place to broadcast. That's saying, but video is the best medium. This is just one of her pages. She's got 1,451 people subscribed at this point. That's not a lot. Okay. YouTube, Google, they want to talk to you when you have about 10,000 subscribers. Maker Studios, they'll pick up your show and run it through their distribution engine, which would be insane, if you get around 30,000 to 50,000 views per month of your shows. That guy that I talked about at the beginning, PewDiePie, the guy that makes $7 million now from Maker, who just got bought out by Disney, that 30-year-old little punk, all right, he started off with around 30,000 views a month of his silly little YouTube thing. And Maker came by and said, how'd you like way more than that? 20 million views, okay? He gets ridiculous amount of views. 20 million subscribers. I think his views are actually, I don't even know where they are, but Maker basically picked up his show, pushed it out through their distribution engine, which means they cross-market it with all the other shows they've got going on, and that's the powerful part. It's not just about the production. All I'm telling you tonight is that the ability to produce this has come down to our level, but the distribution power is really immense. President Obama, what we are doing here right now is exactly how they did his Hangouts. They took a Hangout, they wrapped it in a YouTube live stream, and they pushed Obama through that. He wasn't really in the Hangout with people. Okay? I'm in this Hangout with Alex, but the camera shots that are showing me are not a part of the Hangout. All right? It's a bridging of technologies. It's very Wright brothers at this point. The results of all of this effort will show up when you do. If there's one thing I want to make clear, it's that none of this happens in a vacuum, and it happens only if you choose to be online, not be anonymous, and make effort. Because Alex and I can attest to the fact that if we're not engaged daily, we lose traction, both as ourselves and our authority and as our brands. So the opportunities are huge, but you have to be online. That pretty much wraps up the presentation. Yes, Julie?
John, there's somebody online, Roger Divine asks, can't we produce a Hangout without a studio? So for those of us,
Yeah.
because we're here in the audience, so we see what you and Simon have, and we see the board and everything. But let's say, as writers, speakers, what equipment do we need, the absolute basics, to produce a Hangout like this? What's our...
Like this?
Well, no, just let's say, pretend
simpler
we don't
version.
have this.
Oh, regular,
Let's say,
yeah.
if I want to get started in Hangouts as a business person, I'm not yet ready to do the 10,000 or less in equipment. What do I need?
You get into Google Plus,
Okay.
and you find a guy named Ronnie Bincer. Ronnie Bincer is the Hangout helper, and he's been helping people understand how to get started with this. Ronnie and another guy named Martin Shervington, two of our good friends that help people out. All you, and we'll put it in the events. Ronnie Bincer, RONNIE, BINCER, and Martin Shervington, SHERVINGTON.
In terms of,
Go ahead.
cutting to the chase a bit, if we had a reasonable digital camera, can you get a laptop, is there software for a laptop? that
Yeah,
can do
I wouldn't even go that far.
30% of this.
Yeah, the gap, thank you for bringing that up. The best bet is to make sure you have a machine that can deal with, if you can stream video to your machine and it comes through pretty good, you're in good shape, all right? The bandwidth at your home needs to be, let me back up here. Everybody can just do a Hangout right now. You turn on your computer, you make sure you have a webcam. The Hangout's going to take care of the majority of it for you. It is that simple, okay? You bring in other people into the Hangout once you've understood the basics from Ronnie or Martin, you're done. There's nothing else you need to do. And there are plenty of shows right now that operate all the time, and that's all they are. Is people say, hey, it's the next social media hour show, and they get 10 people in to the Hangout and they talk, okay? That's it. For just starting business, that's fantastic. Get comfortable with being in front of a camera. Get used to staring at the camera and not at the person on the screen, right? Get familiar with what you need for lighting and what you need to do to make it better. All this stuff, the way Alex and I handle ourselves in front of a camera may seem comical right now, but the truth is we work very, very hard at it because there's a lot of things that you have to pay attention to and to do so that you're actually relating to the audience and doing what happens when you're broadcasting. At the base level, that's all you need to do. Is that what you're talking about, or do you want to go above that?
Well, so- Yeah, right.
If you're on a dial-up, it's not going to happen. Okay. If you're on a DSL, it's going to happen, but it's not going to be awesome.
Okay.
Okay. DSL, if you've got, here's the bottom line. When you run the speed test from your house, if you've got 5 megabits per second up speed, you're in good shape. Most of us have 2 or 3. Google created the Hangouts to function off that 2 or 3 because that's what most of us get. And that 2 or 3 is barely enough to give you a 720 HD signal. So if you have a webcam attached and it can provide 720 HD, that's what you'll be pushing out through the Hangout. If you've got more than 2 or 3 megabits per second, you can do a 1080p and it'll look great and you won't have any lag. Right? But if you try to push out a 1080p signal from your webcam, or if you try to attach your DLP camera to a Blackmagic box like this and run it in, first of all, your computer is probably not going to be able to handle it on its own, and second of all, the quality of the picture, the Hangout won't even be able to handle. Okay, so that makes sense.
Well, I'm noticing that for some reason I keep thinking that the quality is going to be extremely high for Hangouts, but they're still a little bit jerky.
Mhm.
It looks like Skype. Is that because our bandwidth is not strong enough? We are working
Right.
off DSL.
Yep.
So if we were on a T, or we were basically, what could we do to improve that? We need to have a studio like this. you're
No.
saying.
What you need to do is you need to get cable internet, or wait till Google shows up with fiber.
Okay.
Google's bringing fiber to
I know Google's
Portland.
working on that
Right.
Yeah.
So Comcast, unfortunately, is who we have to go through. Their basic, if you're using business, sorry, no offense, don't like you, Comcast. You have a problem with internet neutrality, and so I have a problem with you. The Comcast basic residential, okay, they offer the basic residential is the 2 and then 10 down. The next level up is like a 5, and then the next level up is like a 10 down. Okay, I've got business class at home, and you can get a 10 megabit down, 10 up, 50 down, and I'm paying $100 a month for that. Okay.
And I think that's roughly what you're running on right now.
Oh, okay.
On the
Okay.
Comcast line, it's
And it
business
still
level.
is a little, it's not
20 up and 20
motion
down.
picture
Right.
quality.
Well, are you trying to watch it?
I'm just talking about in general. I know it's super. I'm just talking about when are we going to have the quality of doing our own Hangouts so that it looks like a television show? It's going to be a while.
It's gonna until when we have fiber across the United States and everybody's
So
up speed is raised to a level where we can push. In order to push 1080p, which would be the quality that we're all talking about, although 4K is on the way. 4K is here. You can broadcast in 4K right now. Nobody can receive 4K, but 1080p requires roughly 8,800 megabits per second of upspeed. You need 8,800 because you have to push at 4,500, and through the systems they consider peak at 8,800, and so they operate at nominal at 4,400. Okay, so that's until we can get all the homes in America up to that level, we can't broadcast, or until they find a new way to compress, like the H.264 compression codec has really helped relieve a lot of the pressure off the bandwidth. But yeah, I know I'm getting all nerdy.
No, it's
but
not. No, actually, it's making me think that they're going to start charging us for making our own productions at home.
No,
because we're going to be
no.
using so
This
much.
is
That's the issue.
no. This is why. This is one of the reasons. So Comcast is charging me for my bandwidth. That's it.
Mhm.
My up speed. They're charging me for that.
Right.
I can broadcast whatever the heck I want out of that. All right. But you hit a good point. One of the reasons I'm not happy with Comcast or Time Warner, who, by the way, invested $25 million into Maker years ago, so Time Warner has a stake in that, is that they.
Netflix.
Well, yeah. Is that Comcast wants to change it so they can charge us differently by the IP we go to. Okay, that's the canceling of net neutrality. In my opinion, that's bullshit. Okay, What I pay for is access to the internet. You are not going to segregate that for me like you do your cable channels, which is one of the reasons why Comcast is fighting web broadcasting. Right? So, to answer your question, you know, we got to get everybody up to that level. We got to keep the internet free and open. We got to keep companies from Comcast like trying to block it down. They make enough money already, right? In my mind, off the internet. So, let's see. I lost my place where we're going here. We want to wrap it up. Any other questions?
Well, can you tell?
John, there is a question online.
Yes.
Roger Devine asks, can you talk a little bit about strategy in addition to technology? Which, amen. All of this technical jargon is putting me to sleep. So, can you talk a little bit about using Hangouts? I assume he means Hangouts on Air strategically as a business.
Say that? Oh, yes. Okay. So the question was, thank you, Roger. Can I talk a little bit about strategy? How would a business use Hangouts for this purpose? Thank you so much for coming. That's a great question. Yes, let's talk about that. So there are so many ways to use this for a business that we're going to start with the smallest way, and we're going to fall down rabbit holes. Okay, and I'm gonna keep this. I'll keep this to just the next 10 minutes, and then we'll stop it. Okay, Steve?
No,
I don't.
no limits here. But
Okay. The first way businesses can use this is simply by creating a piece of video, right? A 2 to 5 minute video where you're recording this at home with basic gear. You don't even need all of this stuff. You can use a Hangout, record yourself, a Hangout on Air privately to YouTube, and you've created a video. Okay, you're done. Make a short video talking about your business. Make sure you have a decent background. There you go. You're done. Hangouts have now allowed you to do that. Once it's up on YouTube, you go in there and you can do edits. So you don't need anything else but the ability to record yourself at home. All right. So step one would just be making video.
so you can with YouTube,
Mhm.
so actually split it up into chunks, edit it, delete pieces, all that's online.
Yeah, let me.
Sort of, kind of.
Their editing is very rudimentary,
Yeah. Okay.
but you can.
But can you download it,
Yes.
edit, re-upload?
Yes. You download it as an MP4. Use a $99 software like ScreenFlow. Chop it up. Stick your intros, outros. Post it back up. Yes. Right. So in terms of creating a video easily, putting it on YouTube, even downloading it and chopping it up and redistributing it, very simple. And that's the first level of what you would use a Hangout for. Okay. You're not even talking with people in it. You're just recording a video. But you could have other people from your company in there. You can bring in guests to talk. So that at the basic level, that's what a business could do, is start with, it's a video, then it's a small live show like Alex and I started doing with SEOWiSE, right? And the great part about it right now is that it's kind of an open game. People are still trying to figure out what to do with it in terms of Hangout space. But I would just say the faster you think in terms of the network broadcast look, all right? That the end goal is, what do you watch on TV? What do people watch on TV? Because you're doing TV, but you're doing TV that's interactive. So I would watch interactive TV. Start watching web shows, all right? As far as where businesses can take this after that. So you've got this little package of a live show that you do that's 5 minutes. You bring customers on now and just to hang out. We're not doing any production. We're just bringing some people on. We're talking to them for 5 minutes. That's the end of our show. It goes up on YouTube. Okay. The next step is gathering followers around that, making it an incentive. So treat it like any other content marketing initiative. What is your goal? What are the hoops you're asking people to jump through? What are you giving them in exchange for that effort? Right? How are you going to measure the results? And what are you going to change based on those results? It's no different than any other content marketing piece. So the first is to create content that people actually give a crap about and put it out there. Right? The second is to get people involved with that. Asking your customers, asking people on the web, engaging on the web in real time. We're doing a show. This is happening. But before that, I want to back up to engagement in general, because you can't use video, you can't use this medium effectively without understanding the principle of engagement. So, Roger, the first thing I want to say is 80% of your time in Google Plus right now should be spent commenting on other people's stuff engaging on other people's stuff, sharing other people's stuff. Right? You want to reach out to them, attract them to you. Right? You will get so much more out of another human being by being kind to them, not putting your content in front of them. All right? When you present content, you're asking something of other people. You're asking them to do something with it. Read this, pay attention to it, look at it. When you give that effort, that energy to somebody else, that's what they're waiting for, right? So for people who think about that from a strategic point of view. Let's take it to another step. The goal is to attract people. What kind of people do I want to attract? I want to attract influencers. I want to attract people that have more followers than I do. People that are already significant in my keyword space. People that are already looked at and recognized as authorities. It may not be in exactly what I do, but I'm going to cast a wider net because I need to find people that are similar. I need to reach out to the same types of people. So I talk about web development, about technology, about being online and Google, but I reach out to people like Martin Shervington and Ronnie Bincer. When we first got into Plus and Alex and I were first trying to figure out what to do in there, we said, okay, who do we see in our stream and what are they talking about? Let's search for what we do and find other people that do the same things. Now, let's look at their follower counts and find out who's got way more followers than we do, which at that point was everybody. All right? And we said, who out of these people do we realistically have an opportunity to make a relationship with? Right? Martin Shervington at the time had, I think, 200,000 people following him. And Alex and I were like, this dude is not going to talk to us yet. So let's just talk to him, right? So we started by, wow, that's a great post. Thank you for sharing this, Martin, and sharing it with our nobodies. We had nobody, right? We're just sharing to the public. Eventually, Martin says, hey, you guys, thanks for sharing. Eventually, he comes in and comments on our post. What does that do for us? Other people that are starting to see Alex and I post are like, okay, here's that person, Alex. She's got 12 followers. Okay, whatever. And she talks to that guy, John, and he's got 50 followers. But look, Martin Shervington just said something to Alex. He's got 220,000 followers. Who's Martin Shervington? Holy cow, I'm going to follow him. And I'm going to follow Alex and John too because he talks to them. Okay. The influence sphere is how you grow your relationship. So that's the first tactic any business needs to understand. Forget video. Just think about how you engage with influencers. They're the people you're looking for. Right? That's link building today. Every time Martin Shervington mentions Alex, and when I say mention, she mentions it's a link. It's an active link that is counting. It's indexed. Google sees that. Every time Martin says, hey, Alex, thanks for this, thanks for that, blah, 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 keyword space. That's a citation. That's link building. Google says, Martin Shervington, value of this, just talk to Alex, value of this, about this keyword space. And we're going to connect that relationship, and we're going to give Alex credit and Martin credit for that. That's link building, just like we used to do it with objects, but now we do it with people. So you are connecting with other people who are more powerful and more influential than you are, so that they will bring you other people to connect to and raise your authority for your space. Once you've got that down, get into Hangouts, start with your own small show, then find other people to help pay for that show. Find sponsors, find a partner. Right? So if you make widgets, and in order to make your widgets, you need to bring in company A's part that is essential to your widgets. Say, hey, company A, we'd like to interview you on our show and talk to you about why we use your parts. Right? Are you interested in being a part of that? Yes, we really are. What kind of a show is this? Well, it's broadcast on the web. That's great. Yeah, and it costs a little bit of money. Are you willing to share that with me? Right? And you can treat that relationship any way you want. If it's not a vendor that you want to have a relationship like that, play, have fun. Hi, I'd like to offer you a slot, a sponsorship slot on my show. Right? What do I get out of it? Well, it's for free, but we distribute it out to everywhere, and so far we get this much engagement. We can look at that. We can graph the engagement. Okay? We can see when people watch the show. We can see how it gets picked up. Right? So you go to somebody and say, let's have you on. And as soon as we have a following, we'll gauge what that's worth and we'll charge you for it. That's the next step, is to finding other people to pay for it, advertisers and sponsors. Then you need to distribute. You need to get that pushed out to more people. So once you're distributing and pushing it out across more channels, the quality of what you're doing has to go up. So what we're doing right here is a large step from what happens in a regular Hangout, but is a far cry from the quality web broadcasting that's being done right now by other stations, like Maker, like Leo Laporte at Twit TV. Even people like Dan McDermott are ahead of Alex and I because he's been doing this for a couple of years. The quality of this online is fine for what it is, a presentation and open discussion. But you can take it to a far better level, all right? House of Cards? Who watches House of Cards? Okay. That entire show was created based on an algorithm put together to figure out what we actually wanted to watch. And the algorithm said, people want this, that like this, and does this. And the writers went, okay. And so they data mined our search, what we do on the internet, our engagement, and said, this is what people want the most. Amazing, House of Cards is pretty damn popular. And then they also said, based on our research on the web, this House of Cards, which is put together in a web sense, okay? I mean, they're using real broadcast stuff, big expensive equipment, but they put it together based on web trends. House of Cards was produced in one season, and they gave us the whole season, something networks would never do, right? Well, that helped bring its popularity to where it is, right? And I don't know how many people have seen Kevin Spacey talk about why he got involved and the speech he said about it. But he's basically saying, I want to blow the door off the network model, the old school, old boy network, because this is a whole new deal. It's about providing what people actually want to watch, not shoving something in their face and forcing them to watch it. And we give it to them when they want it. They want the whole season in one shot? Fine, boom, there it is. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Not a lot of people are on Google Plus.
Mm-hmm.
So how is Google, I mean, they're accounting for 90% of all web searches. How are they managing those up?
How are they what?
Matching them up.
Matching.
Well, I mean, you've got this small group, and you're saying now we're going to be just everything's based upon people. So you only have so many people in Google Plus.
Everything's based upon people. Google Plus is where you go to be counted as a person.
How many people are in Google Plus?
The last known number I had heard was somewhere around 600 mil of active participants.
It's huge.
Okay, that's active participants. Facebook is supposedly 1 billion. We're not sure if they're actually active participants. Okay. What the statistic that people are looking more at now is not number of people within, is the amount of engagement happening around. So if you look at engagement statistics across social sites, it goes, I think Facebook is still number one in terms of engagement, might be LinkedIn, and then it's YouTube, Google Plus, right, just right there, YouTube, Google Plus. Right. Facebook just for sheer volume has engagement, but there's no value in that engagement. Right? Facebook is not indexed the way Google Plus is indexed. Right? There's no permanent links there. But back to your question, Google Plus is Google. There's no separation there. Okay? So it's all part of the same sphere. There's no, as far as people coming in, what we're saying this year, and when I say what we're saying this year, there's a guy named Mark Traphagen. I had to get his name in, Alex, once. I say his name every show. He's a great guy. Mark Traphagen is probably the most known SEO guy in Google Plus. Okay, and his career path within Google Plus has been really cool to follow, and he's just the most humble guy ever. He's so cool. Mark Traphagen. And there was a reason I was going to bring this up, and now I can't remember, Alex. Damn it. It's Google Plus. Oh well, forget Mark Traphagen. We were going to talk about bringing people into Plus, and I can't remember.
Well, John,
Yes.
I have a question also. So you guys have started Hang 3 Productions.
Mm-hmm.
Are you, so someone like myself, and another way that you can use Hangouts, as a coach and a speaker, I can't get to all my readers of my books. So I can do a hangout where they get to have a part of me and see me because they cannot get me by the hour, they don't get my email. It builds a huge amount of like making you into a star. So you do want to hook yourself with your wagon to an influencer, but if you're an influencer yourself, by letting people have access to you during a hangout, because they don't get access to me unless they come see me live or read one of my books, Hangouts have allowed me
Yep.
to actually have like a little concert, for example.
Yep.
Then I market it the same way I would if I were on television.
That's Thank you for bringing that
For
up.
Hang 3, would we come to you and you would help us put on something like this? Is that the future you see?
Yes.
Because I can't imagine buying this and doing this myself.
Right, and that's it. Yeah, you
So-
just nailed it right there. So
Uh-huh.
there are companies, I don't know, about 4 or 5 of them that I'm aware of personally. There's companies that do this at varying ranges. Okay, Pixel Core, a guy named Alex Lindsay, they're the guys that did the Obama Hangouts.
Okay.
All right, and they're going to charge you appropriately for what they do because they have incredible gear. Google has a YouTube facility down in Culver City, California. State of the art. They've recorded all sorts of stuff down there. You have to have 10,000 subscribers to your YouTube channel to gain access to that facility. All right. But it was a big statement of Google's to say, this is where we want it to go. Build yourself a space. So we've invested in this equipment. We've got more on the way. We've got a place we're setting up. But what it is that we can bring it to you. I don't even need to bring it to you. It can be the cameras and the lighting set up in the right place with mics. I can be anywhere I am with the right amount of bandwidth, and I can broadcast and produce the entire thing. Right? That's the benefit of this. We're working with, I'll be working with a lady in Seattle who has a radio show, and she wants to broadcast her radio show on the web as a televised broadcast, like Howard Stern is doing. And a lot of radio people are moving to that because their shows can be, it's a whole other audience, another medium. All right. All of these kind of things are happening from base level to upper. But what you just hit on is fantastic. Consultants, speakers, NSA, which is what Julie is talking about. Right? If you can do a conference that is not only a conference in real, like you've got physical people at the conference, right? You can only attend a certain amount of tracks. If it's a conference in another state, you have to fly there. With this, you could create those tracks, virtualize them, and then the speaker comes into the room, that hangout is created, it's broadcast to the web. If you don't want people to be able to see it, it's locked down behind a paywall, or it's held privately. You can have private hangouts like Julie was saying. So imagine who was it, Alex, who was asking about that? It was Roger, right? Here's a big scale version of that, Roger. You do a virtual conference where every single room is broadcast on a different channel, and people can pay for the channels they want. You offer some channels for free. You also offer smaller group consults, like Julie was saying, where the expert that just spoke on this in this room is going to do a small hangout, only 10 people allowed inside, VIP only. It costs this much. Right? Virtual all-day pass to your conference was this. I want the private VIP session with this guy afterwards. Okay? Then you could also just charge for people to watch all that. Right? I mean, there are so many different levels of monetization with this within this. It's disgusting. Right? We haven't even touched the fact that once you have a program that is distributed, that is at a decent enough level, you just tap into the Google AdWords. You work with them as a partner, and you're putting pre-roll. Remember, how we all watch the advertisements, okay? Well, it's your own pre-roll, your own post-roll, your own mid-roll, right? So you can put what you want. You have complete control over the advertising. Plus, you can do advertising in the show. At the beginning of this show, I said, this show is brought to you in part by Speaker Expo and Bravo Event. Right? You put on your announcer voice, and you do that. I'm not charging Speaker Expo or Bravo Event, but I could. Right? So many different rabbit holes to dive down with this. Thank you for bringing that up, Julie, because I hadn't even gone that route. Any other questions out there, Alex?
Kind of, but I've kind of been answering them as I go.
Thanks.
Roger asked about how often he should create these HOAs, and then he asked about, even if you don't have that live audience, that huge live audience, can he still reap benefits from creating these HOAs?
Sure. I mean, if you're going to use an HOA to create your videos, you're just not having the audience part, okay? It's just you're using YouTube to store your video content as opposed to recording it on your camcorder and then loading it into your computer and messing with it there. You're just letting YouTube take care of it, all right? There's immense value in that, Roger, just producing video. We had talked about video SEO briefly. So on the video itself, you have the transcript that you can replace with something more accurate. You have the title and description, and the description is where you would paste you could paste the entire transcript if you wanted. They give you another slot for that, all right? But you can write out a description, that accurately talks about it. It fits your keyword space. It's well written. Okay. What else can you do? The annotations, the links with inside are considered SEO data. That alone right there is enough in terms of SEO. So you can take that and then package it, redistribute it, and you're getting so much more value out of that. What you want is people resharing, and you will see people resharing video much more so than any other medium. Okay? The other piece of this is I highly suggest, Roger, once you start, you asked how many? As much as you can get done in a week. But remember, the majority of your time right now should be spent listening to other people's stuff until you build a following base. You want a follower base, and you want to get around 2,000 to 3,000 people following you as quickly as you can. Because once you get around that level, people look at you differently. Right? I don't talk a lot about the tactics of plus followership, but really what you're trying to do is get yourself over 5K. And yes, there are going to be some purists in Plus that don't like talking about this, and I don't care. I'm just going to go there. From a purely business tactical point of view, you want to get yourself above 5,000 followers as quickly as possible for one silly reason, and that is as soon as other people see that you have 5, they will go, wow, he's got 5,000 followers. She's got 5,000 followers. That's more than I have, and they can't follow anybody else. All right? In other words, when I have 6,500 and something people following me. That's not a lot. That is a small amount compared to what some of these other people like Daria Musk having 3.5 million. The number does not matter for you on that side of things. The number matters to the person who may consider following you. It's an authority marker. Okay? That's all that matters to you, is that they see that you have a higher number that they do. And 5,000 is the cap, because when you have 5,000 people following, they know that you can't follow any more than 5,000. Okay? It's a tipping point. So when I go to follow Martin Shervington and I see that he has 220,000 people following him, I go, my chances of Martin following me back are slim to none. I'm not concerned about that yet. I just want to get his information. Right? That's why you get to 5,000. In truth, you're never going to follow really more than a couple hundred people once you become an influencer. I don't know how many people Martin actually shows that he follows. Okay? I show that I follow like 2,300. No offense, you're all in my stream, but I look at about 200 of you during the day. Okay? You can filter these guys out by circles. Okay? I have a filter of about 200 people that I consider uber relevant. Those are the people I pay attention to when I'm looking for doing business. Okay? The rest of the people, their stuff shows up in my stream and it's great, but when they want to communicate with me, they'll comment on my stuff and I'll know who they are. Hey, right? They're following me. They're receiving my information because they choose to. That's a big difference in the way the system works. So you need to get your follower count up, and then you need to figure out which ones of those followers actually matter. You want the influencers. If I've got, between Alex and I, we have probably 30 people of influence, big influence, that we really don't need anybody else. If we want to get our message out, I'm not trying to grow 4 million fans. I can't compete with Sarah Hill, the Emmy award-winning newscaster, but her and I talk, right? We don't have lunch, but I share her stuff and comment, and she shares our stuff and comments and says, thanks SEOWiSE for that great share. And when Sarah Hill, Emmy award-winning broadcaster, says thanks SEOWiSE, Alex and I benefit greatly. Right? So you really only need a small group of high influencers connected with you to benefit from what you're doing. You grow your follower base as quickly as possible so that people recognize you as an authority. Yes?
Doug, should we start our own YouTube channel under our name? I noticed that you have it under your show. What do you recommend?
If you are, so personal branding is what this was supposed to be about. The point is that it's about the person. So you have to create a personal brand before you can be an authority for your brand. If you are just a personal entity and you have no interest in having a company name associated, then I would just create you and YouTube channel up to you. I mean, that's all you need, okay? If you have a brand like we do, SEOWiSE, and you want other people to be able to manage that brand and manage the channels, okay, then you have to create a brand page. SEOWiSE is a brand page. Alex and I share responsibility of managing the page. It also gets its own YouTube channel. I can function as a human being on the SEOWiSE brand page and comment as SEOWiSE, just like I can on my personal profile. My personal profile also has a YouTube channel, but the stuff I put up there, completely different than the stuff we put on SEOWiSE. Right? I do stuff like dancing reindeer effects and goofy videos, okay? And my dancing reindeer effect video has, what, 16,000 views? Okay, that's what happens when a stupid video you make goes viral for no reason whatsoever, all right? I've made nothing off of it. I monetized it for fun. I've made passive income out of YouTube. There's no money there. Lost place, Alex. What were we talking about?
Personal
Oh,
branding.
yeah. Personal branding. So, to answer your question, Julie, I would create a personal brand, a personal YouTube channel. If you have a business, create a brand page, create its own. But everybody needs to start with personal brand or personal channel and brand page. Your profile on Google+. Right? Anybody else? I think we're in a good place.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for coming here.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And I'd like to thank Steve Morris with the Oregon Technology Business Center for having us here, and Alex for sitting through this entirely grueling thing and not really having to do much but stare at it. I'm sorry. I know this was supposed to be a Friday show, and it was just, this was much more fun for me. I'm sorry.
Great. I'm so glad you had a blast. No, it really wasn't that bad. It's all right.
Wow. And the other thing is, I noticed Julie's been commenting with you and talking with you through comments, right? And you've been answering questions with people online. And that's the other aspect of this is I would suggest if you're going to do it with a team, because there's no way you can do it by yourself. You know, it really takes a team. Thank you, everybody, for John and Alex and SEOWiSE and OTBC and Simon and Dorian and Steve Morris and everybody here. I want to thank you. Enjoy your weekend. And we'll see you next Wednesday for office hours.